Okay guys, welcome back to the 1000x Leads free trainings. What we're covering in this video is standards and culture. And before you click off the video thinking, why are these standards and culture? This guy's talking about crazy stuff. This is not relevant. I'm going to go to the paid ad section and learn how to scale. Just hold your horses for a second, because this is single-handedly the number one most important training in the entire trainings, in all the free trainings, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, that might be a crazy claim, but if you talk to any legit and serious business owner that is scaled through the roof, they are going to tell you that the one thing that was the backbone of their company the entire time was having ridiculously high standards and a high performance culture. Because without that, you literally cannot hope to even get close to performing at the level that you need to perform in order to scale to these numbers that we're talking about in these trainings. It's very, very difficult to do without that. So what you want to do is, number one, watch this video in detail and take action on the training that's involved with it. And number two, think about what type of company do you want to run? What type of standards do you actually stand for? What do you bring to the world? What is your culture? Because the thing about these things is that it's not necessarily something that you can manufacture all the time. Obviously, in this training, we're going to talk about how to manufacture that, but it's not always something that can be manufactured. A lot of the time, the standards and culture of the company are going to be essentially extrapolated from the founder. So if you, the founder, are watching this and you're thinking, oh, this is stupid, we don't need to talk about this, well, maybe that's a sign that you do need to actually watch it. So without further ado, and without me, lambasting you too much, let's just get straight into the training. As always, join the free Discord, join the free live webinar, get more of the free trainings that you'll be available around this page. You can also get them here. And grab your free preview of the 1000x Leads program. And you can also check out exactly what we can offer you down here. So before we jump in, let's go over the table of contents. What we're covering in this document is number one, part 0 actually, the truth. So people should be gone in 2 years. That's really the truth. You should be thinking of your business as a people training business. We're going to talk about the 4 types of leverage. We're also going to talk about standards and what they are. We're talking about how employees want standards. We're talking about personal standards, company standards, raising standards every month. And if you're going to talk the talk, you must walk the walk. So obviously we're going to cover that too. We're going to talk about communicating and why that's important. We're going to talk about checklists and how you're going to implement the standards. We're also going to talk about daily habits. So we're going to have routines for employees, morning, work, and night. We're going to have the way we work. We're going to have 3 2-minute video trainings for 30 days. We're going to have 1 new ad per day. We're going to have 1 new cold email per day. We're going to have 1 new short form video per day. We're going to have 1 post per day on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram. We're going to have their own newsletter, and we're going to be communicating to you why this is important. And we're also going to have a checklist for you. Part 3 is going to be about daily improvement. So this is also known as Kaizen. We're going to talk about 1% improvements, personal Kaizen, company Kaizen, institutionalizing Kaizen principles, and communicating why this is important to you as well. We're also going to talk about how you will implement this daily improvement so that over time you can get these 1% day on day growth. So that then over the year you get a 37x, and over 10 years you get, I don't even know what's 37 times 10, 370x, but not really, because it's probably going to be exponential. If there's any maths wizards in the audience, you can give me the answer to that. Part 4 is going to be daily accountability. So we're going to talk about how to enforce these standards, habits, and Kaizen with end-of-day forms, etc., etc. We're going to talk about why this is important as well, and then we're going to give you the checklist as well. Then part 5 is going to be company-wide content. So we're going to train people on how to stand out in their own way one day. We're going to talk about massive company promotion. We're going to talk about why that's important. We're going to talk about why and how you're going to implement this on a company-wide basis. We're also going to talk about company-wide prospecting as well. So training people to stand on their own again. This isn't about having a bunch of, a bunch of robots in a production line, because as much as we would love to have a Henry Ford style production line, we're dealing with people here and they need to be progressing over their life. Otherwise, it's very difficult for them to be happy and difficult for them to produce at the level that we want them to produce to get to the levels that we want to get to. So it's kind of like a team thing. Shocker. Then we're going to have full company pipelines as well. We're going to communicate why this is important too. And then we're going to have an employee skill check. So paid ads, content, outreach, partnerships, lead magnets, newsletters, and appointment setting, as well as offers. So these things are all important for your employees to learn. And we're going to be covering why this is important in this video. So without further ado, let's just get stuck into the video. Number 1, I think the reality is that people should be gone in 2 years. And the truth is that no one really wants to accept the fact that when you hire someone, they really should be gone in 2 years. And number 1 is because they're either going to be fired because they absolutely suck. Or number 2 is because they will become way too competent, skilled, talented, disciplined, and inspired to continue working for you. And they're either going to start their own business or get another job for 2 to 3x the salary. And that's not to say they absolutely will be gone, but they should have the ability to go. They should be so good and so sharp and so elite at their job and so disciplined and just the full package by the time they've worked with you for 2 years that they should be able to basically get whatever they want. So that's really what you should be going for. And while it might sound annoying for you to have no one to work for you for more than 2 years and constantly have to replace people, it's really the right thing to do. And it actually will serve you more to have this caliber of person inside your business, even if it is for a shorter time period. So if you actually developed this type of reputation as well, you probably would have thousands of people just lining up to work for you at a moment's notice and never basically have to search for employees ever again. So keep that in mind. If you can do this, there's a lot of benefits. So we've got the real, here's the pipeline right here. Pretty simple stuff. Another little reframe for you is that your business should basically be viewed as a training business. So instead of whatever, service you offer, like email marketing or ads or SEO or whatever it may be, you should be thinking of yourself first and foremost as an education company, as a training business. And it's not all about training to people to leave. It's, obviously practical reasons to do this too. But as the business grows, the number one constraint becomes talent, especially if you're running a service-based business where literally the talent of the people inside the organization are the value of the organization. So if you want to increase its valuation, you've got to increase the talent. It's a very linear process. So a successful business can always basically raise money or get a loan or, get a credit card or, reinvest profits. But money is almost never the constraint for a successful business, especially in the service space or, even if you're running this is mostly for agencies. So yeah, you're all service businesses. So it's really talent. So smart, capable people who are motivated, disciplined, competent, and actually care. So you want it to be like a SEAL team or like a Navy team. I'm not sure exactly what this is. I'm evidently Australian, if you can tell by the accent. In terms of the 4 types of leverage, we really like what Alex Hormozi says. There's 4 main types. So you have media, you have labor, you have capital, and you have code. So I would consider processes and systems and intellectual property as code here. The type of training and mindset would seem to be most focused on number 2, which is labor. And yes, that's correct. By training our employees to stand on their own one day, we're not only generating good karma and changing lives, but we're also giving ourselves leverage. So when we talk about labor leverage here, we're not so much talking about specific employees that work for us as we are developing the ability to identify, train, and motivate great employees. It's much more important. So the thing is about this is that if you can teach them correctly, you can basically train your employees to create media for you through content, so through newsletters, podcasts, videos, etc. And this will help you make a tremendous amount of money that can be reinvested or withdrawn, capital. So labor leverage will translate into a profitable and growing business, which also gives us access to extra capital leverage if we need it in the form of loans, credit, investment, etc. And finally, by institutionalizing the proper standards, habits, improvements, and by training all of our employees to know everything they need to know, we are by default going to be creating a very effective process, system, and probably some intellectual property, which might get some code as well. So if you actually think about it, the key to all of this leverage can actually be accessed via labor, because the labor can make the media, the labor can make the capital, and the labor can make the code. It's kind of self-explanatory if you think about it in that way, where you have the system, you can they can help you obviously get more profit, they help you get more of a line of credit, they might increase your valuation because it's not as reliant on the founder, etc., etc. So if you can think about it that way, it's pretty valuable. In terms of the standards that you want to have in your company and what they are, standards are essentially an agreed upon set of rules, guidelines, or characteristics for activities or their results, really. So standards establish accepted practices, requirements, and quality for a certain field. So standards are the most powerful and important thing for every single person and organization, basically. And unfortunately, if you look around, there aren't that many standards anywhere anymore, really. But the thing is, employees want standards. So make no mistake about it. Employees want standards at work and in their lives. I had a conversation with an employee today, and we were basically talking about standards. And he was saying, I basically said to him, I said, look, I can either treat you how, everyone in the world treats you and just expects this, or we can expect this, a really, really high level of service, a really A+ level, and you can reach that level, and then all of a sudden your life changes. Because the reality is, it's not actually an inconvenience to anyone, and they're not going to run away from being held to a high standard. They actually want to be seen that way. It's actually a very loving activity to see someone as great enough and worthy enough of being held to a really high standard. And I think the truth is that most people aren't apathetic pieces of shit. They're just surrounded by apathetic pieces of shit and lack vision for their lives. Like I said, it's actually a very loving thing to say, hey, I want to hold you to this standard because I know how good you can be. And if you keep allowing yourself to basically operate on this level, then you're going to stay at that level. But if you want to be great, if you want to improve, if you want to fulfill your potential, you need to be up here. But the problem is most people don't have anyone really to push them, encourage them, or inspire them. And basically, the average person has kind of lost hope in 2024. I don't know if you guys, families, friends, etc. It's kind of tough right now. There's really not much of this going on. There's not a lot of inspiration. There's not a lot of pushing people to be better. There's not a lot of accountability, etc., etc. So what we want to do is force both professional and personal standards into their lives and leaving them no choice, essentially. And basically by doing that, you are setting in motion a series of events that will actually change their lives. So it's a very, very loving action to give them permission almost to operate at a really high standard. So they actually want this. And what this is going to do, one, it's either going to spit someone out very quickly if they can't hold up to standard, or number two, it's going to make them level up in every single way. So keep that in mind. Number one is going to be personal standards. So personal standards encompass their life. So you should require each employee to come up with 10 standards that they will hold themselves to in their life. So some things you could build standards around are health, fitness, career, family, thoughts, habits, skills, learning, and actions. They can choose these standards, but you should require them to make a written list of 10 habits, which they will recite twice per day as part of their daily routine. You want to hold them accountable to this, and if they don't, they are gone. Of course, it will be nearly impossible to track and verify this, but you can ask them, and it is easy enough to tell when someone is lying to you. And most of all, if someone's not up to standards, you can kind of just tell anyway. If someone's not operating on the level they should be, you can kind of see it in just the way they operate. It might show up in different ways. They might be late. They might be a little bit, they might be a little bit off on calls, or they might be late on projects, late on tasks. They might miss a task completely, and it might be, sort of just generally off the ball. And if that's the case, you can almost bet that they are off their standards a little bit. And especially with this task, you likely won't need to hold them accountable because you will be able to tell, like I said, just by their behavior and the way they work and the way they communicate. So you want to make sure that you set some personal standards and help them set their personal standards as well. Then aside from the personal standards, you want to have some professional standards as well. So you want to have a master list of standards for your business that everyone is expected to follow. So I think the problem here is that a lot of people make some stupid company values that don't really mean anything. And it's kind of the right idea, but it's the wrong direction. These standards should be automatically sent to each employee twice per day, and even sometimes read at the start of company meetings, and just recited to them a couple of times at least per week. Because the thing is, for someone to think something's important, they kind of need to be repeated. It kind of needs to be repeated to them multiple times, at least 4, 5, 6, or 7 times. So in order to get these company standards and professional standards to be really, really drilled in, you need to be constantly repeating this. So these things should include stuff like quality of work, client results, attention to detail, continuous improvements, company habits, client communication, paid ads, outreach, content, and partnerships. And you should basically just make a list of 10 standards that apply company-wide that everyone is expected to follow. And then moving on, in addition to that, there should also be a list of standards attached to every single task, process, and SOP. So repetition, like I said, is really, really important. And so is accountability, which we're going to go into in a bit more detail later. But what you really want to do is something like this here. So what standards am I holding myself to as a professional? What are 5 ways I'm going to increase the quality of my work today? What are 3 or more things that I've learned recently? And then maybe a cold email script or an ad down there as well. In terms of raising standards, over time, you should be raising standards for things like quality of work, client communication, lead generation, in terms of volume and efficiency as well. And then also the development of skills internally. So 5 to 10% is a good amount to raise standards every month. And in most cases, that 5 to 10% isn't really going to be measurable, but it's more a mindset behind it is important to basically improve every single month, every single year. The point here is really to just not stagnate or stay the same. You only want to rise you will only rise to the level of the standards you have as a company. And if you want to go higher, you're going to have to increase the standards. So with something like this, the way you actually implement this is, how will I make each video 5% better than yesterday? How will I make my newsletter 5% better than the last? How can I make it 5% more valuable? How can I write a script that's going to get even more leads? How can I write an ad that's going to beat that CPL every single day? And just trying to improve 1% per day. Nothing too crazy. Just improve it a little bit. A big key here is that you must walk the walk. So a really fast way of losing rapport with your team is by just telling them to do a bunch of stuff that you would never do. You absolutely have to make sure that you do the things you say you do. So there's nothing worse than someone who doesn't practice what they preach. If you're going to talk the talk, you as the founder, as the owner, as the CEO, whatever you are, whatever you want to call it, you also have to walk the walk. Pretty simple stuff. You cannot and should not expect anyone to do something that you would not do yourself. So in fact, you should actually be holding yourself to a higher standard than anyone else. It's called taking pride in what you do. Again, shocker. Imagine that. It's kind of crazy, right? If you have basically read up to this point and have concern of doing something along the lines of, my employees will never do this or listen to me, and I can't expect them to do that, then that kind of tells a story in and of itself. If your employees respected and admire you, then they would, and they would be happy to do it. If you want them to respect you and you want them to admire you, then you have to be worthy of respect and admiration. This is one of those things where you kind of have to look in the mirror and think, am I operating at the level where my team would want to operate at the level? Would they look at you and say, oh my goodness, that person is just absolutely crushing it. They execute tasks. They are elite. They just do everything. They're so sharp, so competent. I want to be like them. Because I'll tell you a story. This is a real thing. I won't go into too many details, but I'll be talking to someone and they'll literally be talking about their boss with the most glowing admiration you could ever hear. Oh, my boss is so smart. They do this, they do that. They're never off time. They're on task. They've never messed up. They look after everyone, this, and this. And then if you look around at some agency owners and the founder is just sort of pissing around all day doing not much, it's like, well, how are you going to get an employee that's that good? How are you going to get a team that's that good? That literally has raving reviews about you. You literally couldn't imagine it. In terms of actually getting them to buy in though, you want to often communicate why this is important. So you want to continually do this if you want people to stick to it. In addition to simply making it part of their job and company culture, you want to try and communicate how it's going to actually impact their life in a great way and how it's going to actually help them. Because the more people buy in, the more it's going to get done, the longer it's going to last basically, and the more effective it's going to be. So you want to talk frequently about self-respect, self-confidence, and how high standards are attached to both. And you want to talk frequently about how there's nothing worse in life than wasted potential, and frequently talk about this quote. If you plan on being anything less than you are capable of being, you'll probably be unhappy all the days of your life. It's kind of serious. It's kind of, it kind of seems intense, but this kind of is intense. Like, we're dealing with people's lives here. We're dealing with people's skill sets, people's futures. This stuff is, what else could be more important? You know what I mean? In terms of how you're actually going to implement these standards, you want to write a list of 10 company standards. You will either use internal email, Slack, or another tool to send every single employee this list of 10 standards at the start of the workday and at the end of every workday forever. Then at the beginning of every company meeting, you want to read these standards out loud. You will ask every employee to make a list of 10 personal standards for themselves. You will ask them to read these standards aloud twice per day, and they will begin to live up to them. Number 4 is you're going to continue to communicate why they need to adopt these personal and professional standards, because if they do, they will become more competent, disciplined, motivated, and capable as a person who will make hundreds of thousands of dollars one day, whether it be from you, someone else, or for themselves. Really, really key stuff. Now we're into part 2, which is daily habits. And let me have a sec. Okay, in terms of daily habits, we're going to talk about written routines and habits. So similar to our standards, we're going to have written routines and habits and encourage our employees to do the same. So we're going to divide this into 3 different parts. That's morning, work, and night. So before work and after work, obviously. We're going to explain to the employees that habits are the cornerstone of a happy and successful life, and we will show them our system for implementing them, either printed out on paper or using an app. So habits ensure that everything that gets done, that needs to get done, gets done, and they provide some kind of structure that every person kind of subconsciously craves. Like you kind of see people, they'll leave school or they'll leave college and they'll get into their adult life, and if they're not working, a very regimented life, it kind of can become unstructured. So over time, what we want is that they want to be able to get all of this done in about 60 to 90 minutes, which leaves plenty of time for them to work for 5 or so focused hours on client work and their normal responsibilities. So over here, what we've got is an app for focus tracking and habits. I believe this is what Matt uses. I opt for the trusty journal, but it's kind of up to you. It's just an example there if you want to read Matt's habits. Then we want to cover a bit about the way they work. So habit number 1 is to do with the actual system they will use to work. So they want to work for 5 60-minute periods per day with a 15-minute break between each. That is a total of 6 hours and 15 minutes. The rest can be, miscellaneous stuff, lunch, transitioning between tasks, and just kind of fat. And the reason this is, an important work system is 5 hours of focused work is often more than 40 hours of work for the average person. So your employees will be 8x better than average. Basically, anyone can focus for 60 minutes at a time. If you go hard for 60 minutes, then take 15 minutes to refresh. That breaks up the day nicely, and it's a really nice balance for the actual productivity. Some people say the Pomodoro technique or this or that. Really, you want to think about 60 minutes as the KPI. What this is going to do is it's going to structure their day so it's easy for you to track as well. You're also going to be the main beneficiary of this as you will be able to get more work done as well at a higher quality with less people. So I don't know, sounds pretty good to me. Then you can have your daily work form. This is to be filled out after every hour. So Leo, 12th of Feb or whatever the date is, 6th of Feb, hour 4, this is what we did. This is my rating of my effort. This is how I can improve my effort, and these are my standards that I will read, or this is my standard that I will work for 5 hours per day and use the form every single hour. The second habit is a video training challenge for 30 days. So remember the 4 types of leverage. The purpose of this leverage is to generate labor leverage. So what we can do is use this labor to generate media leverage at the same time. So media leverage is going to get us more attention, generate more leads, sell more products, and get more clients. So the ability to make content will also be an important part of your employees being able to stand out on their own one day. Getting tired, getting late over here in Melbourne. But all types of content are basically going to be important. So short form content is going to be the most valuable for you currently, and this type of content translates to a variety of things. So the best content typically does well when using ad creatives as well. So there's kind of a different ways to use it. The problem is that most people really suck at speaking on video and they won't be comfortable with this. So what we have is a 30-day challenge that is built for them to get better. They want to record two short form videos, 2 3-minute videos per day for that 30-day period and improve every single one. Because practice makes perfect. One of the biggest problems or mental blocks is the fact that the person, probably you, sucks massively amazing content. They suck at speaking on camera and making videos, and that's to be expected. Everyone sucks at something they have little experience in, and public speaking is typically one of the biggest fears. And everyone sucks at something the first time they do it anyway, so you don't want to quit because of that. You want to imagine if you were a toddler learning to walk, or my new puppy learning not to pee inside, and you fell down and said, oh well, I guess walking's not for me, and my puppy said, oh well, I'll just piss inside forever. You'd probably think that's pretty ridiculous. It's really no different with content. Practice makes perfect, and no one is good without practice. So what you want to do is make a really solid system for getting better. And that system is 3 2-minute videos for 30 days. I think I said 2 3-minute videos, but I meant 3 2-minute videos for 30 days. So most people can handle the idea of learning to write. It's basically the videos that get people, and the reasons for that are they don't speak well, they lack expression, they stutter, and they don't like how they look. All are pretty valid concerns, but you're going to need to get over them, and we have to train, we have to practice, and we have to follow a training program. So that's exactly what we've got. Lucky you. So after we're done, how many videos is this? 3 times 2, 6 times 30. It's a lot of videos. Step 1 is to schedule time in your day. So you want to schedule a 15-minute block in your calendar every single day, even Saturday and Sunday. Then you want to get a random word from randomwordgenerator.com. Open your phone and choose one random word. Then you need to make 2-minute videos. So make a 2-minute video based on this word with no script. In this video, you're going to act like an absolute expert on the subject using the word, and then talk like you're the greatest authority in the world on the word for a full 2 minutes. And you want to make this as outrageous as possible, make it ridiculous. The reason you want to do this is to stretch the limits of what you feel comfortable saying on camera. A notable one that we had someone do the other day was someone saying you should cheat on your wife because it's going to make you a better person. I didn't necessarily agree with that one, but it's a funny video, of course, and it's kind of the point of it, to just say something ridiculous and have maximum conviction and really, almost die with the lie, if you will. Then what you want to do is practice your hooks. And what you want to do here is basically pick a hook or two from this list of 100 hooks. And this is how you start your videos. You really need to pique their interest as soon as the video starts. So we've basically done this for you and got this in place already. Then what you want to do is step 5 is rewatch the videos. So you want to review the video with the sound off first and check how you look on camera. You want to check for words like and and all these other filler words. Then with each video, name 3 things that you will do better in the next one. And then if you do that every time, you make 9 improvements per day and overall 270 improvements during the 30 days. So that's the 3 videos per day times 30 days times 3 improvements, 270. At the end of that, I bet you might be okay at it. Then the next step is to edit captions under your chin, and this is the only right place to place them because the reason is it's the only place where they'll be able to see both your face as well as the captions at the same time without moving their eyes. So if you're too high or too low with the captions, they cannot look in your face and the captions at the same time. So just go on CapCut and edit those bad boys straight in. You see that? Step 7 is to get feedback. So if you want help and real-time feedback, you can send us your 3 videos every day and we will give you honest feedback. This can really help you make faster progress and you have to trust us anyways. It's a really good start. Obviously we want action, effect, feedback so you can get better. Then step 8 is to keep that up for 30 days. You want to keep it up. Doesn't really do whatever you have to do, really. Doesn't really matter how you do it. Just set it in your calendar, set an alarm on your phone, make it a part of your routine, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just do it. No excuses. At the end of 30 days, you'll have made 90 videos. And I guarantee you that your 90th video will be 100x better than your last, or your first, sorry. And practice makes perfect. So when you get around to eventually posting your real videos, you're going to be posting your 91st video on social media and not your first. This is a far superior way to do it rather than just posting your first video, which is always going to be terrible. You really don't want to go at things without any practice. In terms of the 3 pillars of success for this content, number 1 is value. So you want to ask yourself, would I pay $5 for this content? Would it be worth it? Number 2 is an actionable tip. So you want to make sure that they can do an actionable thing within 24 hours. And number 3 is that you have your own unique way of doing it or style that works for you. And these are really the 3 pillars of success in the content game, especially with video. So you really need to abide by these 3 key rules. If you can do this, you have a lot of success, especially compared with the goobers that normally make a lot of content. Another rule that you want to have is to review every piece of content. So after you create it, whether it's written, video, or audio, ask yourself, would I really pay $5 for this? If the answer is no, probably just improve it. You really need to maintain quality. Even one subpar post can really hurt your reputation with your audience. Number 2 is there an actual tip that they can have a realistic chance of implementing within 24 hours? If not, you probably need to rethink your video or just dumb it down and include a path for them to follow. Then number 3 is anything about this content unique, or is it basically a replica of everyone else in terms of content and style? You really need to find a style that is unique and works for you, and both of these things are really important. So it needs to be unique and stand out, and it needs to work for you, or there's no way you'll be consistent. The next one is you need to train your employees on the ability to make ads. So the reason this is important, because they need to stand on their own one day, like I said. So with training them enough, you'll basically get a continuous source of ads, and some of them will actually be great. So the most important thing is at the start, provide them with their own set of image ad templates to use instead of asking them to come up with all the ads on their own. You can give them guidelines for the product or lead magnet they're advertising, but you just want to get them involved in the ad department and request 1 ad per day from everyone. And then over time, they'll get better and better, and then you can go from there. You also want to grab 1 new cold email script per day. Basically applies the same way. So everyone here needs to learn cold email, what works and what doesn't. And each employee should write a cold email script per day about your business. And this is basically going to teach them really important skills. They need to know this. And then you basically have an unlimited supply of copy and cold email scripts to test. And you'd be amazed at how smart your employees are when they're trusted and how good they are at content ads and email when they do it every day and they get feedback every day. So you can instantly add 20 points to someone's IQ by giving them encouragement and responsibility. So it's kind of the same thing I said before. If you hold them to that higher standards, hey, I want your input on this cold email script. Hey, I want you to do this. This is important. It's important for the company to grow. It's important for you to get better. It's all these things. Then people really start to buy in and they get the most out of themselves and they unlock this entire part of their brain that they didn't even know they had. And you will get to reap the rewards here because you're teaching them an important skill. You get the results of that important skill, and then one day they get to cash out and make all that money on their own. You also want to have them make 1 short form video per day. So after their initial 30-day challenge, you'll have them post their short form TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram reels. You can have them make separate accounts on all of these for work, just so they don't have to embarrass themselves in front of their family and friends on their main accounts too much. But again, the ability to create content like this is a vital skill, and while they work for you, you will get an increase in traffic, awareness, leads, and sales that come from all of your employees posting a video per day. Most people are secretly crave the ability to make videos like these, and they'll be very, very pleased that you are forcing them to do this and basically giving them a way out to create content. If they're, oh, my boss made me do it type thing. All you have to do is minimize their risk by putting them through the 30-day challenge at the start to let them develop before they're expected to post publicly, and basically have them create a separate account that their family and friends won't see. Then you want to have them do one post per day on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram, or ideally all of the above. Everything that is said about the short form videos basically applies here, but it's with written content. So creating high quality written content is also very, very important. And their following an audience will benefit you while they work for you, but this is a true, genuine asset that they are creating that will be invaluable to them one day. Then you want to have them writing their own newsletter. So a newsletter is one of the few businesses where you can make a few millions of dollars per year all by yourself with no employees. So you want to teach them to write their own newsletter consistently and teach them how to write a good newsletter that people will actually want to read. And then their following influence will benefit you while they work for you. But again, same thing. It's a true, genuine asset that they will use one day to great effect. One of the biggest things here is that you need to be communicating why this is all important. As with anything, if they don't buy in, it's not going to work because they're not going to do it. It's not going to be done well. You want to really communicate in a clear way why it benefits them, why it benefits the company, and why it's important to do. So in this case, you want to talk about how important content is to success and show them examples of people who make millions per year just off content. You want to talk about how they will be building their following and audience while working for you. So they're going to get the best of both worlds. They're going to get to learn how to do it, have time to do it during their workday, and it's going to serve them if they choose to leave one day. And number 3 is how you'll give them a commission for every sale they bring in through their content. So you can use UTM links and give them 10%, 20%, whatever it may be. Here we have how you will implement the daily habits. So you're going to use a similar strategy we used to implement the standard. So at the start, you're going to teach them how to plan out their 3 routines, and you can ensure they have a printer, ink, and paper if they want one. The $100 you may have to spend will probably pay 1,000x if they get their habits right. So if you have to get them a journal, whatever it may be, just get it. At the end of every day, you want to send them an automated reminder to plan out what they are doing the next day. And then at the beginning of each day, you'll send them a link to a form where there will be spots to upload the ad creative, cold email script, link to their video, link to their written post, and link to their newsletter as well. Actually review what they give you as well, and give real-time feedback on how you think you can make it better. And then basically from there, they're going to get better every day. Shocker. Then again, actually try out what they give you in the ads, cold emails, and more. And if it works well, give them a bonus and show them the result of their work, and then maybe give some feedback. And it's not going to hurt. You also may have a board of habits for all of your employees that other ones can see. So a little friendly competition can never hurt. And although you don't want to do this always, there should always be unspoken, basically looming threat of getting fired if they're not developing these daily habits. So remember, if they actually respected and admired you, probably wouldn't have much of a problem with doing this, and especially when basically you give them training and room to fail. And then number 8 is communicating frequently why this is important. Then we're at part 3, which is daily improvement. So this is called Kaizen. Kaizen is basically an approach to creating continuous improvement based on the idea that small, ongoing, positive changes can reap significant improvements, basically like creating a positive flywheel. So it's basically a Japanese business philosophy that focuses on continuous improvement, and all employees are involved. So it means change for the better. So you can see here how you have standardized work, makes problem visible, develops countermeasure, determine root cause, hypothesize solution, test hypothesis, implement solution, and then you're back at standardized work. With these 1% improvements, you want to focus on stacking those small 1% improvements, which add up to create great compound effects. So like I said, you get those 37x over the year if you only improve 1% per day. And then obviously if you extrapolate that over another 10 years, you can imagine how this would just go up and up and up over time. Sounds pretty good to me. In terms of personal Kaizen, what we want to do is get our employees to come up with 3 ways they can improve by 1% each day for their job and for their personal life. And we want them to write these down and basically literally just make this something they do every day. So this is a real act of self-reflection and awareness that will automatically improve their results just by thinking about it. So obviously everything that's tracked is improved, and nothing that is not tracked will be improved. So we don't want them to just focus on their professional life, we want them to also focus on their personal life and improve in that area too, because it can be a big impact on their professional life as well. We also want them to continually improve their ad creative, cold email script videos, the content, the newsletter, etc., and also their soft skills like focus, attention to detail, quality of work, and so on. And personally, we may want them to think about things like, how can they drink more water in a day? How can they get better sleep? How can they improve their fitness? The truth is, there's really no such thing as work-life balance. It's kind of just their life. They kind of just live, and it's all interconnected. In terms of company Kaizen, we want to get our employees to come up with 3 ways the company can be improved by 1% each day, and you're going to be amazed by some of the ideas you receive that you never even began to think about. And every single one of your employees are going to have a lot of ideas about how the company can improve, and they're not really going to offer unless they're asked, because I don't think many employees will view themselves as their place to ask something like that. But if you offer them, they'll probably have some good stuff. I've gotten some great stuff from employees before. It's just how it is that they only offer that up when they're asked. So not only is your company going to drastically improve over time due to the compounding effect of these changes, but your employees actually feel happier and more valued because they feel heard and involved. And they can see how their idea or their choice or whatever it may be actually impacted the company as well. Then, in terms of institutionalizing these Kaizen principles, this is not something you do for a day, a one-time exercise for a week or for a month. This is something you do forever. This is baked in or institutionalized into your company. It should be at the core. So if you improve 1% every day, that would be 3,778% per year. And then if you do that for 10 years in a row, again, ridiculous results. It sounds okay to me to improve that much every single year. But it literally doesn't take that long every day. It's just a couple of minutes to implement the best suggestions and a couple of minutes to do. In terms of communicating why this is important to your team, as always, if we want something done and done well, we need to obviously communicate that. So we want to do 2 things. We want to keep telling them that the math, showing them the 1% improvement. I want to keep publicly praising good ideas that are implemented and make a difference to give them a bit of a status boost if they come up with something really, really good. So at the beginning of the day, what you want to do is automatically send them a form where they'll fill out 3 personal ones and 3 professional ones, and then 3 company-wide ones. And when I say ones, I mean Kaizen ideas. Then at the end of each week, you want to make a big list of all the company ideas, and then send it to everybody in the company, and then implement a minimum of 5 good ideas per week, and then make sure that basically implementing these permanently, systematically, and sustainably. They should just become a part of the normal operating procedure, and they should not stick out or be noticeable. Moving on, we're up to daily accountability. So this is about enforcing standards, habits, and Kaizen. So if you hear my chair squeaking, I literally got a new one just the other day, but I haven't built it yet, so bear with me. Goodness me. But like any idea, this is only going to work if you actually enforce it. So you're only going to really clearly and frequently communicate. You need to tell them why all these things are actually important and make it a part of their job and make it a part of the expectation for people to do that. And for most people, it's going to be enough. So these things aren't really illogical. They probably want to do these things, and people will be eager to do it if they're bought in correctly. However, anyone who doesn't buy in after a certain period of time will be shown the axe. And if they don't buy in, they kind of have to just be fired, because you can't really have people not doing this. So that's a really bad example for everyone else. And if people who don't buy in, they're not really going to be A players typically. And the A players who buy in will have their morale destroyed by the people who don't buy in. So the A players will actually kind of just be like, oh, well, this is kind of like a B-level company. Why would I be here as an A player? They will either drop their level to what the company's at, or they'll just leave because they're not getting fulfilled. And although you want to be capable of enforcing this stuff, you don't really want to have to do so. You want to be having other things to do and not be babysitting. So we want to be doing this for the benefit of our business, and we're not running a daycare. So if they don't do it, it's really like, you can't really be having these level of employees. They need to be babysat all the time. You want people with high agency and high drive that they do these things themselves. And you want to obviously have the enforcements in place, but again, it's not your job to be constantly looking after them and babysitting. In terms of walking the walk, again, it's really important to reiterate that you are going to need to do this yourself. There is nothing worse than the do as I say and not as I do types. You should be excited to do it. And the same reasons that it benefits them to do it are the same reasons that it benefits you to do it. None of this is illogical. You'll be pretty hard pressed to find someone who says this stuff wouldn't help a company who tried it. So just show them, really. Then what you want to have is an end of day form. So the best way to passively enforce all of these things is with an end of day form. So you want to ask them, did you live up to your standards? Did you complete all of your habits? Did you think of the ways that you can improve yourself and the company? Again, this is part of their job to fill out at the end of each day. It's not optional and you shouldn't treat it as such. You want to set the standard that everyone will fill this out every single day without exception. And again, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, it is important that we can communicate why this is important. So we need to get across that all this sounds good in theory, but without accountability, none of it will get done. You want to ask them to be holding you accountable as well. So you should do the same stuff as them in terms of filling the form out, posting content, and doing all the other things we cover, and lead by example, not by talking. And when someone does call you out, if you don't do it, you think, shit, they got me. It's not you can't get angry at them for doing what you should be doing. You know what I mean? So here's how you do it. You want to clearly explain everything up to this point in this document to them, and you can't expect them to know or do something they don't understand or weren't told. So don't forget or skip that part. Then you want to have an end of day form asking them if they upheld their standards, did their habits, and what their Kaizen ideas were, and ask for links for all of their stuff again. If standards, Kaizen, habits, etc. were not being met or upheld, you will have to say something to them. You cannot even let it slip once, because otherwise it's just going to kind of become a joke. And you don't want to be nasty about it at all. Just, it's just an expectation. That's a myth. Don't be rude. Just, have an open conversation about it. Why wasn't it done? And kind of have that chat. And then obviously if something needs to be put in place to help them perform or wherever it may be, like a PIP, or if they just need to be kind of shown the door and just said, hey, it might not be a fit to work here, then that can be addressed as needed. But moving on, we also have company-wide content. So we want to train people to stand on their own. We won't go over it too much because it's, kind of just beating a dead horse at this point, but training people to make content is about helping them stand on their own, which is what you should be all about. You want to make them competent. So the real goal here is getting massive company awareness. So if you post content, think about how many leads and clients you get from it. Now think of what would happen if 10, 20 or 50 or 100 employees were all posting content and it was also good. So this is really the end goal you want to achieve, and you want people to make great content every day and have your name on it. And then no matter where anyone looks, your company name is going to be there. I think the idea kind of speaks for itself. In terms of why it's important, you want to talk frequently about why content is one of the most highest forms of leverage. You talk about how people are getting rich with content and how even if you have 25K business-related followers, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars per year on your own, and talk about how attention is the oil of the 21st century, and those who have the attention will win. And you want to talk about how much money they can make and how much fun it can be. In addition, you can also offer commission for business brought through your employees' content, so there is a financial incentive as well. How to implement this, you want to be creating content a part of their daily routine, and they should be expected to improve their content every time they post as part of Kaizen. It will also be a company-wide standard that everyone posts content, and you want to train them with the 30-day video challenge. Then you also want to implement company-wide prospecting. You want to be training people to stand on their own. Again, complete broken record, but it's important. Read previous slides for more info. Then you want to have full company pipeline. So similar to what I said before, many people can build up their first 1 to 2 million in revenue solely by prospecting, networking, and getting referrals. This is basically how big of a role it can play when you first start. And think about how big of a role it played when you first started as well. Now, think of how big of a role it could play if you had 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 people doing this for 30 minutes a day. That is the value of it. Case closed, not too crazy. In terms of how important it is, it's literally one of the most important tools for every business on earth. It's what keeps the pipeline full. It's going to be what keeps the lights on in dark times. And you want to talk about how building their network is going to be key to their growth, because your net worth is your network. It's actually true. Sounds cringe, but it is actually true. Then you also talk frequently about how your competitors are too lazy and scared to do this. It's going to be really important. We want to get ahead of those guys. Then you want to talk about how they will make new friend connections and how it could actually change their lives, because you are one connection away from changing your life at all times. Then also, every time someone gets a client from prospecting, make a huge deal out of it to the entire company so they get that status boost, and also give them a commission. In terms of implementing this, you want to have them put 30 minutes of work per day as a daily habit. You want to have them have a spreadsheet that will act as their CRM. And I would highly recommend that if they do prospecting and get someone who's interested, that they take the sales call themselves. You may be resistant to this idea, and there are pros and cons of this, of course, but if you can prove to them that they can sell people, that is setting them up to stand on their own. And imagine if you have tons of employees that can just bring in deals and close deals like that. That is exponential growth. So you want to teach them how to prospect deals based on the guide about prospecting. So we've got another training for that. You can check that out on the page. Then you can also get them to show proof of their prospecting list as the end of day form. Then, as one of the last parts of the training, you want to have a skill check. So you want to teach them paid ads. Everyone at your company should know how to set up, run, and create Facebook ads. So you set up a business manager, ad account, pixel, dashboard, campaign, and then also ad creatives. You want to have them knowing how to do content. So everyone at your company should know how to make content and be doing so every day. So lighting, mic, camera, speaking, creating good hooks, editing, captions, SEO, coming up with ideas, making a good written hook, Twitter threads, Instagram carousels, LinkedIn carousels. You can imagine how important that would be over time. And everyone should also know how to do cold outreach. So they need to know how to do domains, spin tax, softwares, DNS, list building, scripts, how to set up notifications, block lists, looms, booking appointments, prospecting, different lists, different finding, list building, all these types of things where efficiently engaging with prospects. All this stuff, this is integral for them to know. You want them to be able to build partnerships as well, white label, referral, candidates, who's good, who's bad, how to build a list, who to contact, how to pitch a JV, how to pitch a cross promotion, all these things. And I'll go even further. Lead magnets. Do you want to know what they are? How to create a good one? How to distribute them? How to put them through ads? How to put them through content, etc., etc. You want to get them on a newsletter. So everyone should have a newsletter, be forced to write it, and know the things: how to set it up, grow it, monetize it, how to make a good welcome flow. All these things. Setting, email, SMS, pre-call. It's a dead horse. They want to know how to do all of this stuff. You want to help them know how to make offers, one-time, recurring, improving them, etc. If you don't know how to do it, it's likely that we've got this page. Share this with your employees and teach them, get them educated. Because if you can't do it, we've already got these trainings in place, so you may as well use them. But without further ado, that's about all I've got for you in this training. So implement all this stuff. There's a ton of actionable goodies in here. I'm super tired. It's coming up on 12 a.m. here. I've been putting in the midnight shift for you guys right now, but hopefully this was valuable for you. Let me know if it was. And I hope to see you around the 1,000 leads ecosystem, 1000x leads ecosystem. Check out the other videos, book a call, all that good stuff. I look forward to hearing more from you very, very soon.